Hey, I just got an alert that we're live.
Hey, we're live. That's awesome. Don't you love that beginning of Facebook Live where people are setting up and you're like, people, we're here. So, hey, welcome. What's up? This is
Wait, we need to sit closer together.
Hi, it's my girlfriend Kim. So, this is season 4 of BROADScast.
It feels like season 782.
We're in episode 100,000. I don't know. We've had a lot of episodes, but we decided over the summer that we had some natural breaks of our show. I just hit puberty right there. Natural breaks of our show since 2011. Do you know in November we've been doing this show off and on, but now on consistently for 6 years. So welcome.
We haven't aged a bit.
No, not even a little. Our voices even have changed a little bit. I think they're getting older and wiser.
Yeah.
So if you are new to BROADScast, so season 4 looks very different from the previous seasons. Why, Kim?
Because we're live on Facebook.
Yes.
She finally got her wish. Which is to do this. It has been.
Is it my
because now she's forcing me. I didn't even totally brush my hair, and I have a little blemish that I didn't cover up. So
yeah, but I think that's what people like.
This is what we've decided, that we're just going to be who we are. Our show started in your kitchen years ago, just
with wine
and just being who we are. So we decided to get back to our roots and try not to be so formal and so produced and
yes.
We're just going to be who we are. And we're going to do this Facebook Live every Friday at 9 a.m. unless we can't.
Unless we don't.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Because
move to your mic, girlfriend.
I am moving to my mic. And so we have committed to this new system and this new process because we felt like we wanted to get back to us just being us.
Yes.
And to connect with people that we love so much and care about so much and who we learn so much from. So this is what we're doing. I can't always promise that
your hair will be brushed.
Well, I got it cut last night, so I didn't even brush it.
It looks pretty.
But sometimes I might be in a ponytail or in a shower cap, but I'll be here.
Do you ever really actually use a shower cap?
I use a shower cap.
You do?
I do. I have I guess because my hair, I can't wash it every day. So I put it in a little stupid shower cap. And I steal them from hotels. You know, when they have them,
I don't think it's stealing because you paid for it.
I know, but I have a litany of shower caps and the little packages.
Right.
I use them all the time.
So this is the deal.
Just me. Yeah.
So when we did Facebook Live over the summer, if you joined us, we did a Broad Squad happy hour, and we were able to be like, hi, everybody, and as they came in. But because we do topics here, we're very, very serious here on BROADScast. We will do our best to get to the comments and the questions during the broadcast. But if we don't, we will definitely get on there and comment and check out everything you have to say. So it's really important to us that we engage and hear from you guys, but it's hard to do that at the same time as discuss. So once we get a person to come in and help us during broadcast days, our intern or our PA or something, then we'll be able to
engage more.
Yeah,
I can't multitask. There were times that Jackie would go off and engage with people and then she'd leave me hanging, and I'm not that smart to be able to carry a conversation by myself.
That's the beauty of when we weren't doing video, is that I'd be trying to figure out some technical
and then
thing.
She'd be doing this to me and I'm like,
Bill. So anyway, we have a really fun little episode. So today we're not interviewing anyone. We decided to kick off the season, just the two of us and you, because we want to hear from you guys too. So we've got a PSA, public service announcement coming up. It's very, very serious. Important. Very important. So you definitely want to tune in for that. The school district is offering free drug testing. So we should talk about that. And breast milk lattes.
What?
It's a thing, and it's happening as we speak. Is it happening as we speak? Nope. Well, no, not here. That's disgusting. But yeah, that's happening. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start with our sponsor.
Oh, do it.
So if you've ever listened to BROADScast before, you know that Ebates is our boyfriend. And we love it.
My life is resorted to.
Kim is now dating Ebates. Ebates is, I don't know if you've been on there, but you go to broadscast.com/ebates, and we'll also include that in the notes here. But Ebates is a way to go. It used to be just online. You would go to Ebates, and then you would go through their website to wherever you're shopping, Amazon or Kohl's or Macy's, any of them, and then you would get money back, which I do every single month. Like for the last year, there has not been a month where I haven't gotten a check. And it's not like you save less and then you get it later, or, you know.
Right.
And so now you can actually go in store with the app.
I have not done that yet.
Yes. And use the Ebates app and get money back.
I don't like to shop in stores anymore.
You don't?
I don't. I don't like the crowds. I don't like the stress. So the online thing works great, but this eBay
for clothes too.
Everything. So I thought that it was a scam. I did. I thought this was a scam, and so I didn't really believe in what was going on. So I signed up for the Ebates thing, and I went in, and I'm like, I didn't have to register for anything. I didn't have to pay for anything. And then I bought something online and through my Ebates account, and then I got a check in the mail. Like it was like mailbox money.
Yeah. And I love mailbox money.
Brilliant.
What do they call that? Like passive income. Oh. So if you're going to shop anyway, go through Ebates. So head on over to broadscast.com/Ebates, and you can get more information, and then go from there. So anyway, let's get into our broad topics.
Okay, do it.
Oh, now you're listening to us on Facebook. I
wanted to make sure it was working.
Yeah, because I hear it's not working.
I hope it's working. Otherwise,
that's right. We're recording anyway. So pumpkin spice. I wish we had some dramatic music here.
Oh, my face wasn't dramatic enough.
So Kim and I have very strong feelings on pumpkin spice, first of all. We don't like it. We don't like it.
I'm over it.
Do you think it's because it's disgusting? Because it is. Or because it's such a phenomenon?
I don't like pumpkin. I don't like pumpkin anything. And so adding pumpkin to anything it's gross to me. So when I see everything, it has to have a pumpkin splash. It has to have a pumpkin, it's laced with pumpkin. I'm like, oh, just.
You have your legal marijuana now laced with pumpkin.
I don't understand it.
Do you like the smell of pumpkin? Like when you smell pumpkin?
No, I don't like. My son loves pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie. I don't like. I don't like it. I'll make it for him, but I don't like it. I don't like anything pumpkin. I don't know. You don't like it either.
I don't. I like pumpkin. That's the difference. Like I like to make things with pumpkin. I could eat a piece of pumpkin pie. It's not my favorite. I like pumpkin pancakes. I like actual natural pumpkin, in the can. It's got lots of fiber and good stuff. It's like filling when you add it to something. It's there's a nutritional value. But when you add pumpkin spice, it's like calling things white chocolate. It's not real.
Is pumpkin spice just like?
Do you know white chocolate's not a thing? Like it's not chocolate. It's just sugar. They're calling it white chocolate.
Oh,
but what were you saying?
Isn't pumpkin spice just like cinnamon and nutmeg? I mean, like, is there like a legitimate pumpkin spice? Like, is there something that you?
No, I think it's the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and then the pumpkin. But oftentimes the pumpkin is not even natural. Like pumpkin cough drops now, people. Do you think that there's real, do you think they're mixing the pumpkin and no.
There's pumpkin gum, pumpkin flavored gum.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
So there's pumpkin lattes for pets from the Honest Company.
What's that about?
Are your pets craving the pumpkin spice?
No. I'm exhausted. Okay. Two things I have to say about that. We're going to switch from pumpkin to something else for a second. I was watching Shark Tank, and they had wine for pets on Shark Tank. And someone bought one of the people, the sharks, it was wine. It was like all natural wine for pets. What is that about?
Well, is that like maybe to calm them down or something if they're going to have
because it's not really alcohol.
Oh, it's not?
I don't think so. I was so bored. But then let's go. Okay. So adding flavor to everything, that Lay's or like the chips product that it's like cheesecake tasting chips, and like all the chips have like these weird, random, disgusting. Can't it just be the good old salty?
I like my chips to be potato flavored.
I know, but now you look in the store and it's like bacon jalapeno, chipotle.
Yeah. What's wrong with us? So what is our public service announcement then?
Bleh.
The more you know. Like, stop with the pumpkin spice. You're ruining America. End. That's it.
Very nice. Okay.
All right, we're moving on. So, before we get to drug testing, since we're already on the pumpkin spice, can we talk about the breast milk lattes?
Okay, so I found
babies
this article.
are too young for
so
coffee.
People drank breast milk lattes at Burning Man. Not we, the Washington Post, talked to the woman who served it up. So apparently, this I don't even exactly know what happened, but she distributed her breast milk. This woman, at Burning Man
to festival goers,
and they used it to make lattes in the desert.
Wow.
Anybody else feeling a little grossed out by that? If she would have added pumpkin to it, though, I'm sure that it would have been
pumpkin. Maybe if she ate pumpkin and then expressed the milk. Yeah. Here's my question.
Yeah.
It's not how that all happened, because first of all, is she on anything? Because
okay, well, here's the
everyone
best part
is.
It's not just Burning Man. This person. It's the controversial co-founder of Thinx, the brand, the
period panties.
The period panties. It says one of her employees accused her of sexual harassment earlier this year for taking things too far in the office, discussing sex, groping female employees, and attending video conferences naked. She just likes the taboo space. Anyway,
and so she was giving. All right, so let's a couple things here. Number one, Mickey is is falling apart, but I understand. So you're expressing it and then people are adding it to there. But here's my question. Like, lattes that milk has to be, you need the steamed milk, right? Or the warm milk.
Well, it is warm if it comes right out of your boob.
Guys, can anybody out there in the world defend this woman?
Is it gross that what part of it's gross? If the baby can be nurtured and enjoy the breast milk, why shouldn't everybody? Why should we only allow the babies? I mean, why can't it be a thing? Don't women share their breast milk? Like, if a woman can't lactate, then another woman can store it up and I will say,
when we started this podcast 7,000 years ago, I was the first to be like, what? Sharing breast milk? That's disgusting. And now I'm like, so I have changed with that, as far as like, if my baby needs to be fed and you have it, like, for the most part. But my question is, like, I mean, Burning Man, right? I mean, if you guys don't know this festival, everyone's pretty much high or on some sort of drug anyway. Like, is breast milk the worst thing they're getting that weekend?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, if you think about it biologically, like, we're the only animal out there that actually drinks the milk of another animal.
Right. Oh, right. I was doing the math there. Yeah.
Yeah. So no other animal like drinks another animal's milk, and no other animal drinks even their own milk after like they're a baby. Right. So humans, I mean, we're already doing very weird things, drinking cows and goats milk and whatever
and your
else.
own urine if you get trapped out somewhere. Or
wait, what?
Your urine.
Where the hell are you going?
If you get trapped, you could drink your own urine. As if you're trapped out in the desert or something and you don't have any liquid, you could drink your own urine.
Yeah. But, no thanks.
Well, they do that up in space too. Like, don't they recycle?
Oh, do they?
Recycle the, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take
This is a fun fact.
Yeah.
Show.
So this is a fun fact show.
Yeah, you recycle the urine, because where else is it going to go up in space? So
we're gonna have to provide a link.
I learned that at the NASA Space Center in Houston.
NASA.
NASA. NASA.
Yeah. NASA.
Yeah.
NASA. For a minute I thought you were from New York, but you're from Chicago. But NASA. Yeah.
NASA.
Yeah. Not Nassau County.
Oh.
Anyway,
what's happening here?
Oh my God, you guys. I'm starting to rethink that hiatus we took over the summer was a good idea. NASA. If you run into Kim today and you see her in her car and you're wondering why she just keeps saying NASA over and over again, you now know why. It started here first. So yeah, breast milk lattes. I listen, if you had to survive, if Burning Man were actually like Houston or Florida this week and like you needed to survive, go for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think it's all that necessary. I think she just likes shock value.
Yeah.
And she just likes attention.
That's what she said. She said that this is her thing, that she likes the radical self-reliance. She does this. Yeah.
She even has a label for it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and she also founded Tushy, which is a bidet company.
Oh, well, isn't she fantastic? We should have her on and then just see how she shows
up.
up.
There she.
She's pumping.
Geez,
we're gonna provide.
Oh boy,
we're gonna provide photos to this. So, all right.
Oh, wait, hold on. I pumped my breasts every 3 hours at Burning Man and gave away most of my milk. Some people downed a whole 4 ounces hoping for a hangover cure. So many were just excited and curious to try it. I drank some too when I ran out of water. It tastes like coconut milk. Oh my God, this is brilliant. I did not see the. All right, we'll have to get back
we're gonna post on that. Yeah.
This is what you're. This
brilliant.
is what you're dressing up like for Halloween.
Oh my God. Yes.
You heard it here first. Don't steal our idea.
I'm gonna be Mickey. What's her name? Agwal.
This is BROADScast. This is BROADScast.
You're listening to BROADScast.
Hashtag. Oh my goodness. I hope this is working live.
I'm not sure I'm going to recover from this. So
we're sober too, by the way.
Let's move
on.
on.
Not how our show first started. So anyway.
Let's move on.
BROADScast, that's funny.
Okay, drug testing.
Oh, sweet. We could just go right back to
Otherwise, I'm going to laugh at BROADScast all day. BROADScast and NASA.
Aren't you glad you asked me back for season 4?
Oh my gosh, we're going to get canceled. So, drug testing. So a lot of, both of your son just entered high school.
He did. Mm-hmm.
And my son is in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so they both attend the same school district,
right? Different
different schools. And that district is offering free drug testing.
Mm-hmm.
It's called CADRE, Comprehensive Alcohol and Drug Reduction and Education.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long name.
Yeah.
I think they just added words just so it could spell something.
Right.
It's free and confidential. So they offer to periodically do a urine test for your child at school. And then the only person who is said to see the results are the parents, not the school, nobody else, the parents. So this is something that when I went to 8th grade orientation, there was a form and it was like, hey, you want to join? And I'm like, I have to say my first reaction was like, ugh. Like,
right.
Why? First of all, that I have a kid old enough that's even a consideration. Like even I'm still reeling over the idea of the HPV vaccine. So, which we need to have Suzanne Gilbert-Glenn's on our show and to talk about that. I don't know. I'm so torn about that whole idea. So as I was saying, they take your kid, they give them a urine test, and then the parents get the results.
Are you sure the school doesn't get it?
I don't know that, but what I was told and what I read was that the results only go to the parents, but the school doesn't get it. That's what I read. I could be wrong.
I believe you. Keep going. Yeah.
So is this something that you guys would partake in? I mean, my kid is 13 years old.
The results of the test are confidential and will only be communicated to you as the parent guardian if the test is positive for substance abuse. So that doesn't.
Oh, that it's not only to the parent, it's that you'll only find out about it if it's positive.
I'm guessing it's kind of to participate in the voluntary random drug testing. This form must be completed, blah, blah, blah. You are certifying, the drug screen will be conducted in private and will be provided free of charge. The results of the test are confidential and will only be communicated to you as the parent guardian if the test is positive. But it doesn't say if there are any repercussions.
Because what I think you are reading, it didn't seem, there were no consequences spelled out, like something would happen.
Okay.
I feel like it's something that is supposed to be handled at home,
right?
If and when that comes up. But
right.
So I come at it from a strictly, like, I am a parent only. Like, I have no background in teen stuff. I have no health background. Like, this was just my first reaction. Like, oh, I don't think so, because I think, first of all, that would create this like level of mistrust. My kid would, like, out of the gate, it's like, we're going to do this because in case you do drugs, I'm going to know about it. And it just didn't feel right for me. However, I went to we were driving somewhere and I asked the kids about it.
Mm-hmm.
And my 12-year-old was like, almost 12. He's like, go for it. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, go ahead. I'll do it. And I said, well, why? And he said, because I'm not going to do drugs. So what's the big deal?
Right.
And so I understand that he's saying that because he's turning 12 also. He's not 15 who feels like he's being I feel like it's a violation just to come out of the gate with it when there's no reason to believe that your child is doing drugs. Granted, I see all the ways, like how quickly it can go from your kid doesn't do drugs to your kid is an addict.
Right.
So I have that too. But tell me, like, Kim runs the Youth Project, for those of you who don't listen regularly, and what's wrong with you if you don't. But you run the Youth Project where you tell them about that, and then tell me your thoughts.
Okay. So the Youth Project is a nonprofit organization that does counseling to teenagers, one-on-one and group counseling and in the school system. So interesting that this came up. I did a presentation yesterday at one of the high schools out here, and it was I don't know how long we were there for, 5 hours. And we talked a lot about this program because it was an out for kids to be able to say no when they were feeling pressured at parties to partake in drugs or alcohol. So it became a deterrent. Whether or not the parents signed them up was irrelevant, but we gave the kids. Okay, so let me back up and say this. We were talking a lot to the kids about drugs and alcohol and what it looks like and what different drugs look like and how you can be tricked into taking something because it looks like one thing and it's actually something else, or something you can get slipped in your drink. And all of the kids were saying, I would never take drugs. I will never do alcohol. I will just leave a party if it comes up. The reality is that's probably not going to be what happens. And so we wanted to arm our kids with as much information as we could to give them a safe, healthy exit plan if they didn't feel like they could just say no to their friends, because that's actually really hard.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, when is it okay? Like, what could you say if a kid's pressuring you? And so a couple of the kids were like, I'm just going to tell them I'm allergic to alcohol. Excellent. There were a couple of kids that said, I'm just going to hold a cup in my hand and pretend like there's something in there. And then I'll just pretend like I'm drinking, but it's really going to be, cranberry juice, and someone will think that it's cranberry juice and vodka. And that's fine. Okay, excellent. Then another kid's like, I'm just going to tell everybody that I just downed a beer in the backyard and I'm good for right now. Excellent. And there was, all these kids were coming up with these different things. And I said, well, why don't you tell your friends that you're being randomly drug tested by your parents? And they're like, what? And I said, there's a program at school that parents can sign you up. And these kids looked at me like I was insane, but they were relieved.
They didn't know about it.
No. And they were not all the parents tell their kids, which I think is where you're headed. With the element of invasion of privacy, or that it's somehow a level of mistrust because parents do it without talking to their kids. And then
but so then the kid is just called out to pee in a cup randomly?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to look at the form again, but the kids don't have to sign. The kids don't have to give their permission.
Right. But if you're in science class and all of a sudden they're like, hey, for this experiment, we're going to have you pee in a cup.
I don't know. I mean, obviously at some point, but like the kids don't have to give permission to be included in this program. So parents could technically sign their kid up without their kid knowing, which I then think speaks to the element of mistrust.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a couple of, there were a couple of kids that were relieved that there was this element that they could use. My parents have signed me up for Cadre,
right?
And I can't because I get random drug testing. So I'm kind of all over the place because
that's like people who put the, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I too believe and understand that, if I don't worry about my kid, why would I do this? But the truth is I don't know what my son is doing all the time. And I trust that my son says that he's not going to participate, but he was also very honest with me with saying, I'm curious. Like my friends, we've talked about it. We're curious. And so
curious about drugs or alcohol? Yeah.
Well, not literally drugs. I said, if you go to a party and your friends are all drinking, what do you think you'll do? And he's like, I don't know, which was very honest, I don't know. I think that this is probably more of a precaution or a preventative measure for parents that do suspect that their kids are participating. But I
Yeah.
don't know.
What do you guys think? What do you think of this? I mean,
I don't know why we're so worried about invading our children's privacy. I don't know why that became a thing suddenly.
I'm
That
not
it's
worried
not
about it invading their privacy in that, if they're doing drugs, maybe, at 14 years old, 15 years old, like, your privacy isn't, you don't get privacy. Like, first of all, like, there are a lot of people who don't want to invade their kids' privacy and they won't check their phones, or they're
right.
like, screw that. You know what I mean? Like, give me your phone. Let me see your text. Let me see, I'm very vocal where they know that I could check anything at
So
any
then why
time.
would this be a trust issue?
Well, that is a I don't know, when you involve like a totally different system to pee, it feels like that's like to check your safety. That to me is like, you're saying like you're probably guilty. I don't know. They feel very different to me. When you're using your like an institution to do your parenting. That's kind of where I feel like go to school and learn. And if I feel like I need to drug test you, I will find out how to do that at home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily going to involve the school. Plus, I don't believe that the school is going to take, like, say my kid, like, I'm not crazy enough to think that my kid isn't going to try, or one of my kids isn't going to try something at some point and the testing happens, right? I don't need the school to be parenting for me. Like, I will handle that.
My issue with it going through the school, and I'm saying this with all the love in my heart because the school district, I have a contract with the school district, but my thing is there's no anonymity, there's no confidentiality, right? Because they have to look at the results. It's they're not just
right. They need to know it's positive to let you know it's positive.
Yeah. I mean, so then
I thought there was like maybe an outside vendor who then lets the parents know, and the school doesn't get that result.
Right.
But,
and that they're just the conduit. So I'm not getting that. And so there is some involvement from the school. And I don't know that there aren't consequences from the school if your son or daughter tests positive for drug. That's not in here. And I don't know for sure. And I should know because I work in the schools, but it's not on this document, which I think is interesting. But I don't know what I don't know what the consequences are. And so that would be why I wouldn't participate in this.
Right.
Because I don't know the back end.
Right.
If it was like you said, that they're just a conduit, that they're just going to be the resource that allows us to get this test for free, and your confidential sealed results get sent to the parent, then I probably wouldn't have as much of a problem, just because it's an additional layer of support and a resource.
Right.
But I'm not getting that from this.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I don't, like, say, my kid is in 9th grade or, and test positive, and, who knows? And then does it go to their counselor? And then all of a sudden are they like red flagged for, and maybe in some cases that's a good thing, because maybe they're not getting educated at home. Maybe there aren't the resources. And that's a whole other reason to say, okay, this might be okay. Like, maybe there are places where the parent isn't as comfortable, with having these conversations and continuing that, care throughout the child's teen years. And I think, that's great that that's provided, but I don't necessarily need the school getting up in our stuff when, like, if especially if the child's not showing up at school under the influence. If the child shows up at school under the influence of something, have at it. But if you're testing and, like, the kid did something over the weekend, like, I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's the school's place to be, disciplining or.
And that's what I'm saying. I think that there's a disconnect for me in terms of what the responsibility of the school and what the involvement of the school would be if in fact your son or daughter's test came back positive. So without knowing that, it's hard for me to have an entire conversation about it. But I do think that there are lots of families, to no fault of their own, that do need the additional support and do need an extra set of eyes and do need an extra layer of protection, because after talking to these 9th graders all day yesterday, and I think I know a lot, I was totally educated, and then I went home and I'm like, hey, Sam, have you ever heard of? He said, no. And these kids were telling me at this particular school that the kids aren't even hiding it anymore, that it's kind of out in the open what they're doing. And so I think that, to arm our parents and our guardians with as much information and resources available to them is helpful, but not everybody knows how to find that.
Right.
Like, and know how to seek it out. And there are lots of kids, like we had a very, very honest and candid conversation with these kids yesterday. And I think they were a little uncomfortable being able to talk about it so freely in a room with their teacher, as well as with 3 adults in the room. But we were like, this is what it looks like. You know, this is what being stoned looks like. And it looks different for different people. And you could think that you're smoking, you know, snorting cocaine, but it's actually something else. And they're like, wait, people do that? And, you know, I learned that I knew this last year, that kids were cutting up Smarties, and they were snorting Smarties, the candy. But yesterday they told me that kids are doing it with Takis, and they're
Taki?
Oh my gosh, Taki. They're like the spiciest of all spicy, like little chips, like Cheeto, but really, really spicy.
Are they pumpkin spice?
There's probably going to be a pumpkin spice. So then there were kids that were telling me that the new thing now is to take Sprite and Robitussin or codeine and mix it together. And then one kid said, well, then you add Jolly Ranchers to it.
Oh my gosh.
And they drink that. And then there's pill parties.
But what is
pill popping parties?
Pill parties where like everyone comes in and drops their pills, like the way the
swingers.
Adults did in the 70s with keys.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's also people are doing that with, they're taking all sorts of like liquid medicines, like cough syrups and Tylenol, and they're putting it into cups and they're drinking that. And these are things that parents probably are not aware of.
Right.
I mean, I knew about a lot of that stuff, but so that's when I say that sometimes these kinds of programs are helpful, because we always put a lot of blame on parents for not being more involved and being more educated, when sometimes it's just virtually impossible to stay up to speed.
Right. And when a lot of the culprits are actually in our medicine cabinets and we don't even think about it. You know, I mean, I've had surgeries where you'd have some meds after, or painkillers or whatever. Like, you don't think about that. I mean, of course I had it out of the reach of a small child, but when that child becomes a teenager.
Yeah. But here's the thing we did, and I can share it there. We did for the youth project, a grid, or an image that showed all of the household items in your house that you think are safe or that are not, you know, out of the reach of your kid, that can become, ingredients. I mean, I would never have thought to take codeine, you know, or liquid Tylenol and put it with some Sprite. Like, who thinks that way? So these kids find this stuff on the internet. There's things in your kitchen cabinets, under your sink, that kids are now I mean, you can't even buy Sharpies at the store without.
Well, let's definitely provide that that graphic, because I think that
there are lots of us that put things up high. We put them in cabinets, but you basically have to hide every single thing in your house that has any kind of liquid or powder form in order to make it not a potential harmful ingredient for our kids to figure out how to snort it or sniff it or smoke it.
Which is crazy. It's just crazy. So I am fully aware that I come at this at, my oldest is 13, and, I feel like we have a little bit of time, but at the same time we don't, because I also hear about the school that he goes to, before he was going there, like, oh, kids are like doing sexual things in the bathrooms and this and that. And I think about my high school. I remember kids who would like go off campus for lunch or whatever it was, and go get stoned or drunk or whatever and come back. And there were certain teachers who kind of like, turned the other way, knowing that this was happening. Yeah. And sometimes actually hearing that one of them would get high with the kids. Yeah. But, my parents were extremely strict. So like, I was not off campus. I even, when you have that last period and it's a study hall and you get to leave early, like, no, I had to go to study hall. That was like me and 2 other kids. Yeah. And they were studious. They probably went there on purpose.
So the kids were yesterday, we were asking like, what are the main differences between junior high and high school? And they said really nothing. They have more freedom. And I said, well, what comes with more freedom? And I said, do more risks come with freedom? And they said, yes. But they said there wasn't a lot that changed between 8th grade and 9th grade. That the things that were happening in the bathroom at 8th grade are happening in 9th grade. There's just more kids.
But they're also 10 minutes into 9th grade. You know what I mean? It's like.
But no, their point was that they were seeing all this stuff in 8th grade.
Already.
So nothing changed. Right. They just, not as many people were watching them in 9th grade.
Well, and that's when this year it will get more and more complicated. That it started, Wasn't perfect in 8th, but it's going to get even harder to stay on, this.
So I learned, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, that girls were dipping their tampons in vodka.
Wow. Were they a Burning Man?
No, but that's how they were ingested.
Do you get drunk that way?
I don't know what happens, but I don't know how it gets soaked into your bloodstream. I'm not sure if it's the same kind of drunk that you get if you downed it, but there were also kids that were putting vodka in Visine bottles and squirting it directly into their eyes, but no one was paying attention because they all thought it was Visine. So I don't know.
It gets the red in instead of the red out because you're drunk. I don't know. They're not all winners. Sorry.
I was going with the tampon and I'm like, oh, what's happening?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like,
anyway.
So we're sitting here concerned about the Thinks period panty lady at Burning Man, but like she's got nothing on 9th graders.
Yeah. No, I mean, this has been a panic of mine. I have said for a long time that me being in this role at the Youth Project has me incredibly prepared and incredibly panicked at the same time, because now I have a child that's the age of the kids that I've been working with.
Right.
And in some ways he's totally naive, and in other ways not one bit. And it's scary. It's hard to know. Yeah. And I keep telling him, you got to give me opportunities to parent you. Like this is, and so I'm digging and I'm finding, and then he's like mortified that people are telling me this stuff. And then I call him out and he's like, oh yeah. I hear about that.
It's stuff. Like you're catching him before he even does it. Yeah. But here's the thing about like 13, 14, 15, they're still such little kids. So they've got all these like incredible, and I don't mean in a good way, but like choices to make, right? And all this danger in front of them, but they still have the brain of a young child. Mm-hmm. And so it's got to be really hard to.
Well, and that's kind of how
I had the fear of God in me. What kept you on the straight and narrow? Were you on the straight and narrow?
My dad.
Yeah.
My son and I have been talking about this because he's the youngest of all of his friends. So his friends will all be driving before him. I was the oldest. And so the responsibility was on me to be the designated driver when I was younger. And so if we wanted to get anywhere and be safe, because I was watching my friends love the partying life and they loved it to the, not like we were drunk all the time, that they were drunk, like they just enjoyed that life more than I did. Mm-hmm. So I just maintained my role as designated driver. So I was kind of a prude in that regard. I never really participated, but my son is the youngest and he's going to have to rely on all these other people. And that's the part that I'm a little nervous about, that I don't know if that's going to put him in a position that he has more access, or that he has to hope that his friends are going to be as responsible.
Well, thank God we never had Uber and all that.
I know.
So like they are, $5 and 15 minutes away from.
But my dad made it accessible to me in the sense that he talked to me about drugs and alcohol. He talked to me about the consequences and the repercussions. Mm-hmm. And he said, if this is something that you're curious about, I want you to come talk to me. I want you to come do it with me in a safe environment so I can keep you safe and protected. Right. Well, doing that removed.
Wait, so let's talk about that. Doing what? What did you, drinking? Did you drink with him?
No. I never did, because I was like, oh, my dad's making it so easy. This is no fun.
Right.
Like part of why kids are doing this is because it's so taboo and because it's secret and no one talks to them and they're so curious. Like what happens, but if you talk to kids, you tell them like, listen, if you could drink something that someone's put something in and you could become completely incapacitated. They're like, wait, what could happen? Right. They don't even understand. Right. And so then when you give them the information, the good and the bad, because there's lots of people that can drink and it's a great time. And then there are other people. We talked about being an angry drunk. We talked about being belligerent. We talked about being violent. We talked about.
Did you bring me up by name?
Yeah. But my dad made it so accessible to me in terms of the open dialogue that it removed the taboo element. And so I was like, if I can do this at home with my dad, what's so great about doing it out with my, interesting. And that worked for me.
Well, and that's what works for other countries, over in Europe, and it's like they pour a glass of wine or whatever. And, and it's funny because if you asked me 5 years ago, and even you could actually go back to season 1 of BROADScast and listen to our episodes, like we probably talked about it, and that whole drinking with your kid, I would have been 100% against it. Like, no, it's not okay. And now I'm like, yeah, that's what I would do. It's like, what is it that you want to try? Because we're going to do it here. So it doesn't become that, and I'm not talking at 13.
I know, but totally. But but that doesn't work for everybody, and that doesn't work for everybody's kid. And there are lots of, like, my son asked me, we were talking about drinking, because there was a party in the first week of school, and a couple of his friends went to the party, and Sam did not want to go, and their cops came. And so he was telling me that the night of the party, like what was happening, he was giving me the update. And then the next morning we were like, you know what? We haven't had this conversation yet. And so he said to me, when did you drink? And I said, 8th grade. And he looked at me and I said, that does not mean that you're behind schedule. It just means that our life was different.
Can you imagine? You're like, you're behind schedule, son.
But there are lots of parents that I didn't drink until I was married. Like, there are lots of parents that are uncomfortable having those conversations because they feel like it gives permission to their kids to go do it. I happen to know my son. And so me telling him how old I was, and I told him, I said, this is what happened. I stole a beer from Bonnie Turman. Sorry, Bonnie. From when I was babysitting for you, all of my girlfriends, we all stole a beer from each of the houses.
You heard it here first.
It took us months, right, to sneak one. We went to my house and we watched Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, the very first one. It was on HBO. And we sat in our house and we drank beer and we all puked. Like, it was disgusting.
After one?
Yeah, like that, literally. But I just mean it was so gross that we're like, that was it.
Right.
I never did anything again.
Yeah.
So, and I told him that was my experience. And he looked at me like I was insane. But we were able to have an open conversation. I was honest with him. I told him my age, but there are not a lot of parents that are willing to do that.
Right. Well, I was in 11th grade, and I had seen
your first drink, or smoke pot.
No, I'm not. I was 18 when I tried pot, and I haven't really. That's not really my thing because it's just not. See, I have control issues. So when I have drinks,
I haven't learned that about you. Ever.
So when it comes to something like when I was a kid and tried pot, like I didn't know how to moderate, like.
Speaking of pot, kids are smoking pot through using apples. If they, how we used to do it, if you couldn't find a bong, you'd take the Coke can and
I wasn't that kid.
Oh,
so okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, I didn't do that either, but they're smoking it through apples. So if you find a bunch of your apples missing, all of a sudden,
interesting.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
Well, and it's also legal, so it's a totally different topic. We'll have, we'll talk about that again, but
not for children.
No. What is the age? Is it 21?
What?
Is it 21, like alcohol, pot?
I don't know.
But my point is that, I don't know how old I was the first time I tried alcohol, but I remember I was about 17 when I started abusing it. And I had been around a lot of alcoholism that for so many years I was like, I'm not going to be that. Like, I had seen it and I didn't like it and it was unpretty and I did not want to be that. And then you can go from, I want nothing to do with that to becoming that. Like overnight practically.
Right.
And then it was like, I had absolutely no control. I was 18 and I mean, for a very, very long time it wasn't like I had to have it all the time, but when I did, I was out of control. And so I feel like if maybe I can provide a little bit of guidance, then maybe they won't feel like they have to get so out of control.
Right.
And, there are many times I've had many experiences in my life, like I should not be alive. And I am blessed beyond belief that I'm here today because there were a lot of circumstances I have put myself in because of alcohol that could have led to very, very catastrophic events.
Well, and that's what the message was with us, with these kids yesterday. It's not to give them permission to and encourage them and validate them wanting to go do it, but it's really like, listen, these are the pitfalls that could be placed in front of you, and here's how you can get yourself out safely. Because the truth is, there are going to be times where you do participate, or you are curious, or you are interested. But our kids are not armed with the information. That's what I kept telling them. I just want you to be armed with the information. Right. And so that you can make a decision one way or the other based on having good information in front of you and have a safety plan and be able to exit and still keep your street cred, because there is an element of like not wanting to be called the prude, which is what I was, but I didn't really care. But some kids can't recover from that. And so, and I, like some of these kids, there was one girl that was like willing to quietly, she said she didn't know if she could really like tell her friends no. And I didn't call her out in the room, but she was quietly to me going, I don't think I could tell my friends no. So we had a really big conversation about how to do that and how to she was a popular girl but she didn't want to be pressured into doing something. And she didn't think that her friends would be so supportive, which, and a lot of people are like, well, then they're not your good friends. I'm like, no, it's not necessarily it. There's just people's brains are wired differently, and not everybody has the support and the guidance at home, like what you're talking about. And that's not always a parent's fault, because some kids just are not honest about what's going on and are afraid.
Well, and I think they also need to know that if they want to try something, they're not bad people.
Right.
And that's what I tell my kids too, because they're like, no, we're not going to do drugs. I'm not going to do alcohol. And I'm like, it's great. That's amazing. However, if you're ever in a position that you do, know that we're still here.
It's
that you're not a terrible person.
It's the same thing with teaching kids about abstinence only, that there is this fear about sex and all this guilt and the shame, and it has to be like, and then it puts kids in a situation that they're not experiencing curiosity in a healthy way. And again, I'm not encouraging kids to go out there and have sex at 12 years old, but there is a natural curiosity that comes with things.
Right.
And so not, shunning a kid from having those natural curiosities is really what sends kids down these paths of destruction and doing riskier things, because they don't know any better. They just don't know any better. And, again, I always tell my son this: I don't want you to participate. I don't want those things to happen, because you are young and there are so many things that could happen. And I want to keep my baby forever. But the truth is, this is life. Like, this is welcome to life.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So,
oh my God, it got heavy.
Right. So, and it's hot as balls in here. So there's that.
So,
if you need a little recap, we talked
BROADScast.
BROADScast. Breast milk lattes are a thing. Drug testing is happening, with or without your permission. No, only with your permission. And pumpkin spice is stupid, and it's ruining the world. So that's pretty much all we have.
Mm-hmm.
If you enjoy the show, head on over for the live version on facebook.com/BROADScast, or just subscribe on iTunes, because we're always there waiting for you. Over there on BROADScast on iTunes and anywhere where you listen to podcasts, because not all of you are on Apple devices. So Kim tells me, because there are some people who are on.
I'm on the
Android.
Yeah, I'm on the, but I still can get. Can I still get iTunes? I don't know. I'm linked somehow.
You have iTunes on your you on Android. You download one of the podcast players,
right? And
then you can get it that way, because we are on Google Play,
and we put all those cheat sheets on our website too.
Exactly.
But we're everywhere.
You can get everything on BROADScast.com, and we have lots of extra things we're going to share with you that we discussed today in the episode, and you can find links to all of it on BROADScast.com. So thank you so much for listening.
Peace
and
out,
for
people.
watching. Catch you next time.